It was 47 years ago when I came here. My first confirmation class was ninth graders because they had a year off because they couldn't find a person like me to teach them. And at that time, the church council was a little strict. They wanted to make sure that before the kids got confirmed, they were interviewed by the church board. So the church was that little room back there, and we set up a long table, and one by one, the confirmation kids came before the deacons, and the last question they asked each one of them was, who is your favorite biblical figure? And they finally got to Jim, and he said, my favorite biblical figure is Doubting Thomas. And they went, whoa. And they said, well, why? Well, he was honest. He really wasn't going to believe until he actually touched Jesus, and that's what he said. And every year since then, Jim calls me on the phone, like he did the other day, and said, Don, I know you've had Easter, but happy Doubting Thomas Sunday is coming up. Every year. He's now 60 years old, you know. But those words, I won't believe it till I see it. I say that all the time. Someone says, Don, I want to do this for you. I'll believe it when I see it. Or somebody says, I want to give this. And I say, I'll believe it when I see it. And then Jesus says to Thomas, you know, blessed are those who believe and yet have not yet seen. We all doubt, don't we? Sometimes we doubt the very people, the very beliefs, the very things that we love and believe the most. I remember when I was a young whippersnapper back in college trying to decide whether to go to seminary to be a minister. I had all kinds of doubts. You know, there was the Vietnam War. There was a lot of unrest. I kind of wondered where God was. Thought about that a lot. So I talked to my pastor, and I said, Pastor, I think about going to the seminary, but I have a lot of doubts. I sometimes doubt God. Why doesn't God stop this? Where is God in all this? And the minister simply said, don't doubt. You cannot doubt. When you doubt, you don't have faith. Finally, I met a seminary professor he's the same guy that told me when I graduated, if you can't say it in 10 minutes, don't punish people with your ignorance. I've never forgotten that. You know, he had the flannel shirt and the two pockets, and during his lectures, he would smoke his pipe. And I talked to him about doubting, and he put his arm around me, and he kind of said, you know, Don, doubting is not the opposite of faith. Doubting is a consequence of the risk of faith. He said, sometimes when you believe with passion, when you live your life with passion, when you work with passion, when every day you give it your very best, once in a while you're going to doubt, because that's the price you pay for living with passion and belief and energy. And that really helped me because I realized that all of us have our doubts, and we don't necessarily have to apologize for that or be ashamed of them. See, my biggest struggle is this. I believe totally in the power of kindness and the power of love. I learned that from Jude. I learned it from Peggy. I learned it from you. I really believe that there's no greater power than grace and kindness and love. And it's rooted in this higher power that we call God, and it's rooted in the way this humble carpenter carried himself. And yet, when you look at the world, the past 2 years, how the pandemic has turned our lives upside down and kind of sideways. When I see what's happening to the good people in Ukraine, when I think of some of the stuff that has happened to people like you in your journey through this world, I sometimes wonder, how can this happen? Why can this happen? Why does God let this happen? We can pray and we can pray and we can pray some more, but oftentimes our prayers are not answered. That's why I don't pray for answers. I don't pray to try to tell God what I want him to do. I pray because I just simply need to be. I need to vent. I need to talk. And if I know one thing, God listens. God may not be able to change it because we have this free will and we can be evil, we can be good, we can be whatever we want. But somehow in the middle of our prayers, I really believe that God listens to us and he walks with us. And somehow the answer to the prayer is simply giving us the courage and the faith and what it takes to get through yet one more day. That to me is where God lives. You see, the opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is negativity. One of you kind of laughed at me because I quoted Shirley MacLaine in my thought for the day, where she said, in so many words, dwelling on the negative simply compounds its power. And that's so true. You know, it's so true because the more we're negative, the more we think negative thoughts, the more power negativity has. The opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is negativity. I just think of a couple things right here in our own world. There's a poster in the narthex. Mike Witt, you know, Mike's cousin, he was in an accident and he's now a quadriplegic, and they were going to have a fundraiser for him. And suddenly, unexpectedly, Mike died. But they're still going to have the fundraiser because they want to raise money so his kids can be okay. They take something negative and they turn it into a positive thing of surrounding them with the power of love and goodness. There's a gentleman that many people here know from the Palos Village Players. His name is Jim Henry. He used to come here all the time with his dad when Mark Nussel had some kind of festival in the sanctuary, and he'd lug the lights out to make sure everything went well. And early 60s, and suddenly he passed away, and his family was devastated. I'm not sure if you heard about that Polish lady in Chicago. She was finally going to retire, and she had her last cleaning job. And she was on her way home, and she got killed in a hit-and-run accident. And all that is negative stuff. But today and tomorrow, they're going to celebrate Jim Henry's life and his spirit. People were talking about this Polish lady and her work ethic and the lessons that she taught so many people. It's like Bob Collins used to tell me on the radio when I talked to him on the phone once in a while. He said, Don, don't let the creeps get you down. It's true. You take something that's painful, something where the circle of life goes backward, and you infuse it with the majesty of God's Spirit and our spirit. And somehow, some way, some good can happen. The other day I was unfortunately spent part of the morning with just talking to a bunch of negative people. You know, and by 11 o'clock, I was done. So I just got the heck out of Dodge. And I did my favorite thing. I took a check to the Ukraine church. I went there with the check, and I walked in the sanctuary. Nobody was there, and I just sat there in their little sanctuary. And I looked at the cross and the pulpit and the beautiful pyramids. And I prayed for them, and I thought about them. And then Father Bill showed up. And I said, I have a check for you. And he says, your church like made of money? I said, no. We just love you. We care about you. Will this make a difference? I don't know. But you're doing the best you can. And there was his Easter bulletin. Ours was 2 pages long. His was like 25 pages long. But this is one of the things that he said right at the very top of the bulletin for Easter Sunday. He said, may the light of the risen Christ uplift us and strengthen us to win the fight with the evil one. All they're going through, and they pray that the light of Christ will give them the strength to face whatever they have to face. And then I think of the words that Bill just read. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and everybody will one day see him. That may or may not happen, but we can pray that someday everybody will see the light and the goodness that we believe in. So to all of us, we got to keep praying. We have to keep the faith. We have to live with our doubts and just know that God listens to us. And in his listening, he walks with us every step of the way. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed.